Hey, Kyla.
Hi, Craig.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to my Career Brands Coach Snippets. Today, we've got Kaela Hindle with us, and Kyla is going to be sharing with us how you should prepare for an interview. So, Kyla, over to you.
Thank you, Craig. So yes, well, the first point that I would make is to be well prepared, and I guess that begins with making sure that you've arrived at the meeting point at least 30 minutes ahead of time before the meeting is supposed to start. I've had so many instances where I've had job seekers coming into my office flustered in a frazzle because the bus has been cancelled or the train's been delayed. And you don't think straight when you arrive feeling like that. So you're never going to perform at your best. Prior to rocking up at the start of the interview, I would be considering who you're going to be meeting, and do your research on the company and the role. LinkedIn is brilliant for getting these insights, as are company websites. So just understand the industry, the role, the person that you're meeting, and get to the meeting on time, well ahead of time.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about that prepared state, for the person to be in. And I know we've talked about it before on the career snippets or coach snippets, but it's like, can you be over prepared as well? That's a real thing too, isn't it? With some interviewers, they don't like it.
No, they don't like it, but I'd rather have somebody who's over prepared than somebody who's late. If somebody comes in and they're over prepared, at least you feel like they're committed, and you feel like they've invested time in getting themselves ready. People behave differently in an interview environment. It's very forced, and a lot of people struggle. So I'll forgive someone who's over prepared, but somebody arriving sweaty and inarticulate because they're running late is a bit more challenging.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I see that you've got here as another bullet point is consider the challenges that the role would address. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So most of us, when we go into an interview, have a whole raft of experience to talk about and to share. And to be most impactful for the position that you're being interviewed for, you want to make sure that you're telling the right stories. So in advance of your interview, I would want to understand, do your research on the role itself and really want to understand what are the key challenges that position is there to address. Once you've understood what those challenges are, you can consider which of your experience aligns best to those challenges. And that will tell you, which stories you need to tell when you get into the interview, and also which points of detail you need to make sure that you are sharing with each of those examples, so that you can demonstrate the impact that you've had on your previous employers' businesses.
And making it relevant to the organisation that you're being interviewed by is really important.
Definitely.
As well, so they feel that it's about them and not somebody else necessarily.
Yeah, well, being able to draw out how your experience applies to their situation will trigger, it will trigger something in them and make them feel like your experience has really equipped you to perform well in the role.
Okay, so, and also being, I guess, prepared also is doing a lot of research. You mentioned before about LinkedIn, but there's also other areas like the board papers and so on that may have been presented in AGM, the strategy of the organisation, the challenges that exist in the market at the moment. I mean, if we use COVID-19, for example, if you were getting an interview with Air New Zealand right now, you'd be wanting to make sure that you understood what their key challenges were and tying things back into what they're doing, make it relevant for them. So, Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just going to talk about when you're hired into a role or when you're being interviewed for a role. Hiring managers and boards are typically looking for specific skills, and your experience will come across as more impactful, or your skills will come across as more impactful if you're able to demonstrate situations in your past where you have used those skills to deliver a positive outcome for the business. But that also doesn't mean that you should shy away from situations where things haven't necessarily gone according to plan. Telling stories about where things have gone wrong is often really impactful, as long as you can demonstrate that you've learned from that experience, and that you're now well equipped to not kind of walk down that path and make the same mistake again.
It's interesting you bring that in now, because it's I know something that we've coined in my career brand is a derivation, if you like, or an extension of the CAR and the STAR: situation, task, action, result, and context, action, result interview techniques, which, we sort of have moved on from a bit now. We think, well, actually, that's all cool, but we've got the takeaway, the key learnings, and you were just talking about where things didn't quite go to plan. And so we've tacked on the takeaways and made it CART and START with that. And I think that, not doing it all the way through, because, otherwise you'll be there all day at the interview. But it's, as you say, it's important to talk about your key learnings as well, isn't it?
Well, I think as well, like, nothing ever goes according to plan every single time. And I think what you're able to demonstrate by telling stories of, situations that you've been in where things have gone wrong, is that you're able, typically you're able to deliver an outcome eventually, in spite of challenges, and that you're not giving up, when you're faced with adversity, or, a situation whereby things haven't gone according to plan. And that you're not afraid to share that.
Right.
None of us are robots, and none of us have completely. We've all got skeletons in our closet, I think, is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, some we want to share, and some not so much. But I take your point. So just to close off, then, is there anything that you'd want to close off with before we finish up here? Just do your research, understand where you're going to be, who you're going to be meeting, the challenges of the role, what stories you're going to share. Make sure you've had a good night's sleep the night before. Don't hit the wine. We all think much more clearly if we're clear-headed in the morning. And make sure that you're arriving at a good half an hour in advance of the meeting time, so that you'll arrive on time. Excellent. Hey, Kaela, thank you so much for your time today, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.